Okay, let's just get right into it. What if life, success, happiness, all of it is actually way, way simpler than we think? The problem is, we've been programmed to believe the answer has to be complicated, but the most powerful truths, they're usually the simple ones, hiding in plain sight. So, why does everything feel like such a constant struggle? I mean, think about it. We are drowning in these super complex morning routines, these revolutionary diets, all these so-called ancient secrets. We're always looking for that one intricate solution to fix it all. But what if the search itself is the real problem? And boom, there it is. That's the core of it right there. See, the real problem, the thing that's making your life feel so tangled up, is the hunt for some complicated answer. The simple truths have been right here the whole time. So here's the game plan for this explainer. First, we'll talk about the complexity we create ourselves. Then we're diving into some wild, counterintuitive rules for life. After that, we'll take a peek under the hood at your brain's hidden programs, look at some simple math that gets you huge results. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with a simple 3-part cheat code. All right, let's kick things off with something that's going to feel, well, a little backwards. Turns out, our natural instincts for getting what we want in life, they're often the exact opposite of what actually works. We think we need to push harder, but life usually rewards a totally different approach. So there's this idea called the backwards law, and it's fascinating. The more you consciously try to get something, the more it slips through your fingers. Think about it. Can you force yourself to fall asleep? The more you try to sleep, the more awake you feel, right? The same goes for creativity or even love. It's exactly like trying to grab a fistful of water. The tighter you squeeze, the less you hold.
So what does this actually look like in real life? Well, it's about ditching that instinct to just try harder and force things. Success, it turns out, usually comes from what you could call relaxed action. Now, this isn't about being lazy, it's about doing the work, for sure, but without being desperately attached to how it all turns out. It's the difference between a confident job interview and a needy one. The energy is totally different, and that energy often decides the result.
And that idea flows perfectly into the next paradox, control. Our gut tells us to manage every little detail, but that's a recipe for insanity. The ancient Stoics were really onto something here. They said to focus only on what you truly control, which is just your own actions and your own reactions. You cannot control the ocean. It's impossible. But you can learn how to surf. And now for the big one, the one we're all chasing, happiness. We treat it like something you can catch if you just run fast enough. But neuroscience has this concept called the hedonic treadmill. Basically, we all have this sort of default happiness level. And after big events, good or bad, we almost always return right back to that baseline. The source has this fantastic analogy. Happiness is like a cat. If you chase it, it runs. But if you sit down and focus on something meaningful, it'll often come over and curl up right in your lap. Okay, so let's shift gears now from the outside world to the inside world, your brain. Most of us like to think our brain is this super logical computer, right, seeking out the truth. Well, it's really not. It's a pattern matching machine, and it's running some pretty old software. And the crazy thing is, these aren't bugs in the system. They are literally the default settings. Take confirmation bias. If you think, hey, that stock is a winner, your brain goes on a mission. It starts hunting for every article, every comment that proves you right, and it will just scroll right past anything that says you're wrong. The first step to seeing things clearly is realizing your brain is a filter, not a camera. And oh boy, if you think you're a logical decision maker, you might want to sit down for this. About 90% of your decisions are emotional. Your logical brain isn't the CEO in the boardroom making the tough calls. Nope, it's more like the press secretary who runs out afterward to try and explain to everyone why the decision that was already made was a brilliant one. And get this, the speed difference is just mind-blowing. Your emotional brain chews through information 500,000 times faster than your logical brain. That gut feeling you get, that's not magic. That's your brain processing an insane amount of data almost instantly. So the takeaway isn't that your emotions are bad. They're like super fast data. The trick is just learning to hit the pause button for a second to actually read the data before you react. And this all leads to one of the most powerful ideas about your past. See, your memories aren't like little video recordings stored in a vault. They're more like Wikipedia pages. And every single time you access one, you're not just reading it, you're editing it slightly. Now, that sounds scary, but it's actually an incredible opportunity. Because if you're the editor of your own life story, well, you get to choose how to frame things, which parts to highlight.
Okay, so our brains are biased, our memories are editable. Where does that leave us in the real world? How do we get anything done? Well, it turns out the answer isn't some complex strategy. It's just some surprisingly simple math.
Now, you've probably heard of the 80-20 principle, but let's really think about it for a second. Right now, in your life, a tiny sliver of what you do, maybe 20%, is responsible for 80% of your happiness, your income, your success. The real game changer is figuring out what that powerful 20% is, and then just doing more of it. And this same kind of simple math applies to our habits. Every single habit you have, good or bad, runs on the exact same 3-step loop. Step 1 is the cue. That's the trigger. Your phone buzzes. Step 2 is the routine. That's the action. You grab it and start scrolling. And step 3 is the reward, the payoff. You get that little hit of dopamine. Your brain doesn't care if it's good or bad. It just runs the program.
And this brings us to the absolute golden rule of changing your habits. You can't delete them. You can only replace them. That pathway in your brain is just carved too deep. But you can hijack the loop. You keep the cue and the reward, but you swap out the routine. So if the cue is, I feel stressed, instead of reaching for junk food, you do 10 push-ups. Same trigger, same reward of stress relief, totally different action.
And if you're thinking, small changes don't really matter, just look at this number. This is the magic of the compound effect. Getting just 1% better every single day doesn't mean you're 365% better at the end of the year. No. You are almost 38 times better. It's insane. Your tiny, consistent choices literally build your destiny. It's not philosophy, it's math. All right, we've covered a ton of ground here, from backwards laws to brain biases to the simple math of success. So let's boil it all down into one final, super simple cheat code for life. And honestly, it all comes down to this. Just 3 steps. Step 1, accept what you can't control. And that's almost everything, by the way. Step 2, focus like a laser on what you can control. And that's really just your own actions and your own reactions. And step 3, compound tiny improvements every single day. That's it. That is the whole instruction manual. So when you think about it, the paradoxes give you balance. Understanding your brain gives you a bit of humility. And the compound effect? Well, that gives you unbelievable power. Life isn't really about finding some secret, hidden version of yourself. It's about building yourself, one simple choice at a time. So